Barrett, I see you there. We have a few other people joining and we'll get going. Thanks for coming along. And trying out our first ever little open workshop for our release and triage board. I'll wait till a few other, I know that Dom is going to join and DT is possibly going to join. Just make sure everyone has a link. Here we go. Barrett, if you are listening right now on chat, is the audio video coming through okay? Dom, you and me.
Coming okay for me.
Let's see. Okay, Barrett's over there. Chat is disabled. Well, that's no good. I'm going to enable chat. That's strange. Zoom webinar. Attendees can, okay, Barrett, chat should be working now. Thank you. See, this is why I ask these things. Howdy. All right. You know, Dom, we'll go from here. So Barrett, we'll see how this works. Barrett here is in for anyone. We are going to record this, and here's the goal with these sessions is to. I wonder if some people are having a hard time getting on. I'll check my email or two. So the goal for these sessions is to open up to the community the ongoing release and triage process that we do on a weekly basis. And by we, Dom is leading those weekly efforts now. And we have a project board on GitHub where you can see the updates of every issue and every PR and its status, what's high priority, what's being worked on, and also what's targeted for the next major release right now. That's a conversation we're having around V3. We wanted to make that more of an open process and try once a month to record a session in a webinar format where people could join in as we work through the release board and the triage process to see what the priorities are that the community could be helping out with. We're going to record this meeting and we'll post it on our YouTube so that other people can preview it from there, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just a little surprised there aren't a few more people here now because we had, I think 12. Oh, there are a few more participants in. 12 to 15 people that wanted to join. So I'm a little, Dom, it's a little suspect that the Zoom webinar is not working so great. But ways that you can participate. So right now, and I don't see DT over here yet, but there would be just the core team on stage for audio and video. But because we have chat, we could also, you could chime in by audio or could bring you on stage. We just didn't want to feel any pressure. You can view anonymously and just join in from chat. Or if you want to have a discussion with us, we can give you audio or video. We didn't want anyone to feel pressure to have to do that. So that's how we were going to run this thing. And you know, Barrett, I know we've met. Be free to join us. Just let us know if you want to jump on stage or chime in by audio. And Peter, I see you're watching right now. You can just listen in, but let me know too if you want to have any questions or want to join us on stage as well. And we'll just go through the process. So regardless, Dom and I, you and I are going to get some work done on the boards.
Yeah, that's right. Should I share or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So let me start by, this is the view, but like how do you get there and what does that mean? So if you go to the Redwood.js org here, if you go to projects, we only have one project board and you should be able to see it as soon as you click that tab, and it's the main project. This is like the new GitHub project boards, and we do, everything's on here, like every issue, every PR on the framework, and even other repos. You can all find it here, and there's like metadata associated with everything. And there's a lot of tabs, so it might be hard to know what to look for unless you come here looking for something specific, but we try to keep it fairly simple. So let me switch to the board, and this might be easier to see, and I'll unfilter status. So status is like the main thing an issue or a PR has that helps us keep track of it and eventually get it merged or completed. And triage is like new things, anything, new issues, new PRs, incoming to GitHub always lands here. And oftentimes, if you've opened an issue or opened a PR, you'll see something. Let's open this one, for example. The Redwood JS spot, you might have noticed, like assign somebody right away to your issue. Their job is just to triage the issue and see if it's a bug, like what's going on. Can I reproduce it? Just and say hi, because we appreciate anyone who opens anything and it takes a lot of work. So that's all that means. It doesn't mean like they're taking over now or anything like that. They're the one who's gonna get back to you, and you can feel free to ping them or anyone on the core team really. But we do try to keep like a timely response. Sometimes we're a little busier and it'll take us like about a week, but we keep track of like things that are stale and we know we have to get back to those. So that's the first thing that happens. And once something gets open and gets triaged, if it's depending on like how critical it is and how much of a priority, it could go straight to one of these three statuses. These are like the cycle statuses, which just means a core team member is like going to get this release like fairly soon. The other place an issue can go is in the backlog, which just means we don't have the capacity to take it on right now. And it could still be something we want to do. It's just not something that like one of the core team members could commit to doing like in the near future. And there are priority doesn't mean as much in the backlog. It's just it does kind of help to sort by like bugs in that case, but priority does mean a lot if it's in like one of these to do and progress needs review statuses. You can find everything that's in the current cycle that is a high priority in the priorities tab here. Like these are kind of like the things you can expect to come to Redwood like soon, like in a couple weeks. And some issues do take way longer. Like some really big issues need a lot of back and forth, and so they stay on this board for 5 weeks. I don't know. It depends, but they're always getting updates and they're always having a back and forth. So it's just kind of to help us keep track of like what needs to move forward and what's getting stale and can use a bump. So we try to keep it as simple as possible, really. When you see these things, like eventually they just go to done after. We did experiment with a few other things, but we just want it to be tractable and like anyone can follow along. I think the hardest thing maybe as a contributor is coming to this board and just seeing all these views. You don't have to look at, or I guess it depends on what you want, but if you're looking for something like an issue, there's still like a view here that needs to be made for you, but you could go all the way to the back here to bug. This one in particular is everything that is a bug in Redwood that has been confirmed, which means it'd be great if it got fixed, basically. They're not high priority bugs. If they were like critical breaking bugs, they'd be in the cycle with the core team member getting it done, because we can't have things broken like in production like that. But usually these are like kind of minor annoying things that like we pride ourselves on DX, so we do want to get them fixed, but there's only a limit to how much we can take on at any moment, and sometimes not having features are as bad as having some annoying bugs like these. So if you're looking for an issue, this is a good place to go. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, David, but you can also, I have a tab here of a filter for labels that you could also search that I'll dig into in a second. But that's kind of the boards in a nutshell. We use this like every day. We talk about it every week. And like when I need to know what I work on, I go to my tab here, which is just everything I'm assigned to. And I go down the list more or less and make sure things are moving forward or there's a plan. But that's just kind of like that's how I operate, at least as a core team member.
Yeah, the really helpful overview, Dom. I think just to reiterate what I was hoping you would say that you did, we are working off the boards as a core team. And if anyone wants to see what is in progress now, what is coming soon in a release, this is a place to go. And and this is being updated weekly, if not daily, right? So Dom, I think a couple things you might have had a plan to go from here. The reason for trying to do this more with community and recording and sharing it is to get to some of those things, like how can people in the community collaborate more with the core team? Because that's the question the core team is asking. And we want to make this process more open to a community of contributors so that people can answer the question, I'm available and want to work on something. What should I work on? Right. So, and so that's where, one, you have to know where we're working to see those things. And then two, this is a part of that conversation to find opportunities for people to help out. So yeah. Did you have some ideas on where to go next on? But the overview is really great. I think you could maybe spend a little more time just showing people how to change the views on these project boards, maybe. But all those tabs up there are default for anyone to see if they click through.
Yeah. I hope, I actually don't know if you're not I could open an incognito tab real quick just to find out, but you should be able to hit Control K like that. It'll bring up the command palette and you can, I think, switch layout was the first one I did. This filter here is what's deciding what gets shown. So if you clear that, you'll see everything. And if you ever want to undo what you did, you just discard changes and you're back to the view. So just remember Command K, that's what you need to know. And the rest you'll kind of learn from that. But this one isn't, you can search for issues by like title. If I type GraphQL here, I think it should filter that way. But it might not help you get, like, if you want to know every GraphQL issue on Redwood, this probably isn't the way to do it. It's just a good way to filter through things that, okay, like the core team has already prioritized this, and then I want to filter it even more, like only the things JTOR is assigned to, or you could just group it in that case. It could help you, it'll help you really narrow down like what's on each core team member's plate. That's probably the best question. And then if you wondered if something was or not, you could easily answer it by coming here. And that doesn't mean that it just isn't, and that's the final say too. We definitely, like, if anyone in the community has a problem with something, the way it's working, we often prioritize issues based on that, frankly, because we need to fix things that really bother the people using Redwood. So if you bump an issue or something like that, or like just get it on our radar, it could easily come up and bubble up as a priority for us. So these are always set like collaboratively, and yeah, don't feel like this is just the bottom line and this is what's coming up next or anything like that. It's just how things are, like a snapshot. If you wanted to find something to work on though, this probably isn't the tab. You could go, so I did show you that backlog status here. If you did filter for that, so you would do status here, backlog. In this case, when you only have one status, you want to switch to a table because the board doesn't give you any information anymore. You switch to that, and then a thing you could do here is group by priority, because that'll tell you what's a little more worth working on. So even this isn't super great yet because not all of these are actionable. For instance, add Dutch translation probably isn't something anyone could pick up. So you'd still need to do a bit digging, a bit of digging here if you had this view. So if you really have nowhere to start, I'd recommend instead going to the issues tab. I'll start over. Yeah, issues. Look for the help wanted label, or that label's good, or the good first issue label. And you can do like an and or an or kind of filter whatever you want. And I try to keep this list up to date so that these are actually good issues, like they're not too hard. But I also won't lie and then say there's a lot of hard issues we need help with. So if you, it really depends on like your skill level. We do try to keep easy, kind of like low hanging fruit for people to get into the framework, but those tend to get picked up a lot faster than the ones that are harder. And you can find like a hard issue just by help wanted only. It's just kind of a miscellaneous, like for instance, this one, this is a miscellaneous difficulty in that like when I start the VS Code debugger, just something isn't there, even though it is in a regular Redwood app. And so if you're a VS Code like aficionado and you've made an extension, this might be like a joke for you, but at least for me, like I have no idea where to even start with this. So it's kind of like a grab bag when it comes to just help wanted. But those are actually some of the most helpful things you could do if you're really looking for like something hard to get into. Like you might have to go into node modules or learn how Yarn works a little bit. So if you were looking to like level up in a sense or really get into the nitty gritty of open source, those are great. And even though it's hard, like you'll still get help from us if you decide to take it on. You're never like working alone if you pick something up, whether it's like easy or hard. And you also don't have to feel like you have to crack it. Like we had a few issues that like you take some stabs at it and it doesn't work out, and that's okay. So you should never feel bad about like trying to do something and it doesn't work. And I feel like I'm just ranting at this point, David, so you should take over whenever you want.
You're doing great. I feel like we should try to work an issue or not. Okay, so a few of you just jumped on and want to help set some context. This is an experiment, the first time we've tried this, but a quick recap. Every week, the core team is going through issues and PRs and triaging them or updating status, which always ends up being displayed on the project board. So that's the tab up at the top, 3 over from, there you go, from the issues. And there's one main project board. So this is being updated weekly. And this is how the core team collaborates with each other. And this is how we know what is prioritized across all the issues and PRs, what people are working on. And what we want to do is open up that process to make it easier for the community to see what's going on. So we communicate that more, and also for people in the community of contributors that want to become involved and work on issues that are not being tackled right now. So that's what this process is about. And we've been doing it. We just wanted to make it more transparent and communicate more. So that's why we're recording this and wanted people to join in. So let me stop. And for those of you that are watching this right now, so just via the chat, can I get some general some general information from you, like why are you here? And this would be really helpful. Were you just interested to see what we're working on? Were some of you here because you're hoping to find an issue or a way to dig in and contribute that's important? Do you have any other questions that you kind of came and joined in on that you hope that we answered today? So, and if you can, hopefully everyone can chat now. That was disabled earlier, but please just let us know. And also I could turn on your audio if you want to talk. I just don't want anyone to feel any pressure to have to join us on stage with audio or video. And if you're just watching, and that's fine. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Those are all really helpful. Let's get to, okay, Dom, maybe first thing, since you're sharing your screen, how to contribute. And if for those and for people watching this recording as well, gosh, Dom, I always forget that we need to say this every time and often. We love and optimize for contributions, and especially if it's your first time to contribute to open source. I mean, not just contributing to the Redwood project for the first time, it's your first time to contribute to open source. We want to help enable that to happen. We get really excited when people want to take their first step in open source, and Redwood is where they do that. So you're welcome here, you're invited here, and we have a lot of resources for you to help get started. So Dom, why don't you go to, just to show people where that is. I'll get the link, but Dom, could you go to our docs and the contributing doc specifically? And we could just walk through that briefly, and I'll grab the link to share in the chat as well. From the Redwood.js site. All right, and I'll share this link right now in the chat. If it's your first time to contribute to Redwood and you need help getting started, this is the place to go. I just shared the link in the chat. This is the Redwood.js website. Go to the docs and look for contributing. We have many separate docs on contributing, and we also have a video walkthrough that could record, but this is the place to start. And a lot of the things that Dom is talking about here, as far as like how to navigate the issues on the repo, all of that is here. And Dom, just scroll down a little bit to the quick links. So you'll notice we actually have several different docs on contributing. Start with this one, and you'll find as you go that these others become helpful. Most people, I do think, get to the step-by-step walkthrough, which is written as well as a video that you could follow through. And this is a place to start. It'll show you the tools. It'll show you things like VS Code and GitHub process to go through, and what to do next. So anyway, so that's orientation for how to actually contribute, what the mechanics of that are. These are the docs to use. And then if you have questions about these, the best way to get started as a contributor is to let people know you want to contribute. So definitely read the docs, but also drop in on our Discord and let people know that you're interested in contributing. And any questions you have, you're going to find support there from our incredibly vibrant and helpful community. Dom, anything, or DT, anything else about getting started? Just help people orient. We love it. We want to help, and the docs are a great place to start. Then drop into the community and let people know you want to get started. Anything else to add?
Just don't be scared if there's nothing to be worried about. Like when I first started, I barely knew, like how Git works or what a rebase was, or I think I was super green, and like I didn't even know you had to run yarn after you git clone, that kind of stuff. So it doesn't really matter where you start. Just like ask whatever you need help with, like just let us know and we'll help you out. And you can't really screw up. So don't worry about it. We can commit to the branch and like fix anything if CI checks are read, or there's nothing to like feel bad about. Nothing about the process is like there's no pressure.
Yeah, no, there's not. The worst case is that a PR gets open and then it gets closed, but all of this is collaboration and communication, and the end result is actually not that a PR gets merged, right? So the optimal result is not just about PR getting merged. That doesn't always happen. It's about learning how to collaborate with each other. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So, okay, Dom, thank you for showing that. So that was one of the questions. Yeah, great. So now it's just, I think really then it gets into where and how do I actually find something to work on? And so that's what we're trying to open up the process here. So Dom, let's I know that one of the questions was, let's see if we could find some possible issues today that people could get working on. And let's go through the process of like effectively what you just did. And then another question that came up is, I want to help with product management or design, and where are some areas that I could help contribute or get started there. And like, I have some ideas for that, but I want to see if we could take someone through a process on how to find something there. And I don't think you can. I think like there's some areas of there that we haven't optimized. We haven't made it really clear, like, oh, if you want to contribute this type of skill set, here's a place to get started, other than to drop in Discord and ask. So that's one way to do it. But anyway, back over to the boards is where I suggest we go. So if people were to get started and they click in on the triage, explain this tab, because I think this is where people will get going, right? When they open up the main project management, right? So what's happening here?
Yeah, so these are all the new issues we got like in the last week or so, issues or PRs, and anything that gets open, this is where it comes up first. Like for instance, this one got open like a few hours ago. It's just like, it ranges from anything. This is just like fixing the docs. But when you open your issue or PR, this is where it'll go first. And it's just, we need to keep an eye on like what's incoming. So mainly that we make sure we address it. And that's why we have this like group by here where there's these checkboxes on the top. These ones haven't gotten any action in over a week. So we should get back to them. That's all that means. Really, core team members should, that's why they're at the top, just so that whatever the next step is here, if you're looking for something to do, this needs some help. The other ones, sometimes we're waiting for like a contributor to respond to us because we asked a question, or sometimes you're just working on like a PR and you can't switch context yet. So these ones just like haven't gotten stale yet, and they're all new, and they're in the process of like deciding what's going to happen to them. Like, are we going to move this PR into the current cycle and start working on it so that it gets merged? Or like, is this bug? There's no bugs in here right now, but like, or sorry, these are bugs. But for instance, is this a bug, or is it just like something with the local dev machine got screwed up? Like, can we reproduce it? These are just like, we're just getting to know the issue, everything in here.
Yeah. So, where we are with this project right now is that we can't keep up. We can keep up. We can't get every issue resolved, right? So something that we're now doing as a core team is we've developed a process to triage every issue that comes in, because Don mentioned this earlier. And I'm saying this because this is a way you could help, right? Like, these aren't the obvious things, but these are the things that are really high value and things that the core team is paying attention to, right? These are the details that take a lot of time and work. We want to make sure that everyone that opens an issue or PR gets a timely response. And a timely response is days, because this is an open source project with a lot of volume. But it's, if someone waits weeks to hear back from us, that's something went wrong in our process, right? We don't want that. We want it to be days. And that's really just to say, look, we value the fact that you're using Redwood, that you took time to open an issue or PR, and we're here, right? The communication is happening. So that's one of the goals. And then secondly, we need to validate, confirm, like figure out and understand what's going on. So that's part two, like better understanding. Is it reproducible? What is it? Is it a potential bug? Is it a feature request? Is it a question about a different library that would best be answered? Is it something about Prisma that we can help redirect you over to the Prisma GitHub repo to answer, right? And then thirdly, we want to prioritize these things after we categorize them, so that we're not always falling to the pressure of the urgent, right? We can't resolve everything or turn every issue into code, but we're trying to be able to prioritize things so that we can get back to things we want to get back to, but that new incoming doesn't disrupt the current high priorities. So that's the triage process that we're doing, and that's mostly managed by the core team. But I will say, anyone from the community can help with those things, right? So anyone from the community can comment on a new issue. That's fantastic. Anyone from the community can help us understand Is it a bug, or how to reproduce it? And anyone from the community could pick up any one of these incoming issues and say, I'm on it, I'll take it from here. Right? And so this is the board to do that. Dom, DT, anything to add to that?
Oh, that's exactly right. That actually has happened a few times where a contributor opened like this DB auth issue deploying to like AWS. And it was like, oh my God, like this is going to be such like a pain to troubleshoot. Like, am I going to have to deploy to AWS? And another contributor was like, did you configure cores? And it turned out he didn't, or they didn't. And like saved me so much time, maybe like my whole day in some cases. And like, I didn't even comment on the issue. It was all just like a back and forth. So oftentimes, like, even if it's not like, yeah, like fixing a bug, just triaging one of these could save a lot of us like a lot of time, because it really takes a while to get up to speed with something. And there's quite a few of them here. So you get tired quickly sometimes. So anything, whether it's just asking a question, saying like, I am seeing this too, that's like great answer. Like sometimes you just don't know if this is a one-off or it really comes up a lot. Yeah, there's tons of ways to be helpful, like David said, and it all amounts to just like commenting on something.
Yeah. And you can see the icons there. There's open PRs and there's issues. So the issues are earlier on in the process where they're not done being triaged yet. But then there are the PRs. So those got flipped over. And we don't have many community members doing this yet, but you could review and try out a PR too. That is a helpful thing sometimes. And that's hard to see. You need a little more visibility to follow something along. But right. So Dom, just to show, click on docs, add link to Prisma data proxy. That's open. And my guess is this is ready to go. Oh, that was by Nicholas. Got it. I just saw that Toby was on that. And there's probably just in the review process right now, right? So it's okay to add your review to PRs and say, oh, hey, I checked this out, or I've got a question about how this thing is being done. It's open source. Anyone is welcome to help review, assess, or try out a PR to help it move along. And something like a doc, that could be a great way to see, one, how is someone actually updating our documentation? You would learn how that's happening in this process. And then secondly, like, are things spelled correctly? Like that's what we're doing. We're checking spelling. And I know not everyone, graciously, this is a project in English, so that helps Dom and I out. And not everyone is, first language is English, but that's even more reason to help out, because someone might be, English is their second or third language, and they would really like some grammar spelling help. So it's all of it's welcome. I don't know if there's more to show on that one, but okay, so that was a review. Yeah, so let's go back to the boards. There was a couple other, another question, Dom, that was asked in the chat is curious about the release process and frequency. And so what are our guidelines for releasing? And really, I would start with like, just what kind of releases do we have, Dom? But go for it. I'll add some tidbits, but bugs, minors, and majors, and how are we trying to release? That's a great question, right? Because all this code needs to end up in a release someday.
Yeah. Well, we adhere strictly to Semver because Tom is the author, and not only that, but just we want to follow it to the T. So we have a different take on majors. That's probably the thing that differentiates us the most from just like other projects, is we try not to release them too often, but even if we have small breaking changes, we don't build them up for the once a year major release where you have to change like, I don't know, 40 different lines of code for whatever random reason, and it takes like days to migrate. We just like, when we have enough breaking changes and enough features that we want to release that require them, we just bundle them up. Usually, I think our frequency right now is every 2 or 3 months. That just happens when it happens. There's not like a rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's the ecosystem forcing our hand because we have a lot of dependencies. We bundle Storybook, just so many things, like they could release a major at any time. So it's a bit of a balancing act there. But in general, we try to release a minor or a patch like weekly. And we have, you can actually, like, any change that gets merged gets released immediately. It's called our Canary version. So if you ever wanted to try something out, you're more than welcome to just upgrade to the Canary. And the Canary is usually like very stable because we test like everything that goes into it. Like we're not going to publish something that breaks one of our tests. So if it ended up in Canary, we're like pretty sure it works. Sometimes we need to publish a Canary just to actually try it out, but even then, the odds are pretty good. And sorry, yeah, we do a release once a week for, our goal is to do once a week for a minor or a patch. We had, I think our last one took a little bit longer than that, but in general, like even if we're not merging PRs actively, we're getting dependency upgrades, and we want to kind of like stream that to our users with the most frequency. So we have no shame, I guess, in like using the numbers at our disposal, and we just kind of, we try to release as often as we can. We don't save it up.
Go to npm Redwood.js core, Dom.
Oh yeah. Let's see, like this.
And then flip over to the versions tab, which you can see. Yeah, you see what's really, so these are, yeah, so here's what's being published. So the Canary, that's what Dom talked about. So the main branch in the Redwood.js Redwood repo, that is Canary. So whatever is the code that is currently in the main branch has been published as a Canary release, which that's so you can always try out those Canary packages. That's what Canary is, 1-to-1. You'll see that latest, the 2.1.0 was published, and that was a week ago, Dom. Like, so if even a week, I'll publish 7 days ago. Yeah, got it. So right at 1 week. And again, Dom said it's, there aren't hard rules on this, but if you'll probably see 2 minors a month, if not a few more, meaning once a week toward the end of the week, we evaluate is it time to get an RC out for the next minor. And then early in the week, we get a minor out. And that would be, and then majors. So that's something we'll talk about in this conversation too. We've got 22 minutes left. We are currently queuing up everything that will be a breaking change that should go on the V3 major. And there's some, there are some features that are coming, but a breaking change is like, right now we're evaluating when to get React 18 in, because that will mean there'll be some code modifications that have to happen to use React 18 in a Redwood.js project. So that's a breaking change. You've got to update your code to use that release. And so those kinds of breaking changes are coming, which is we've got to upgrade to the majors and the libraries that Redwood uses, and that will have downstream effects on the user's project. And we'll handle as much as we can internally to Redwood, but that's what a major would be. And okay, so that's the release process, which is, yeah. See, thank you for asking these questions. These are things that are not clear, although we're working with them every day. They just become normalized to us, so we forget to make it more clear to everyone else. I think that's, yeah. And there's all the packages are in the code base. I think that's good on the release cycle, Dom. Head over back to the board. So I had a thought here. Okay, so that's triage. And we still help people figure out where to get started, although helping triage is something you could do. Dom, what's the discussion tab for? Just to walk through.
This is
which really is an extension of the triage process, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is mostly for the core team to coordinate with each other, just in terms of like, I need help on this, I need another set of eyes on this one, just another opinion. And you know, you could very well comment on one of these as well. Like these, like maybe this is a better place to even come to, because triage is like, you can see that these are stale, these could be actionable, but maybe you're not sure just at a glance, like what does this one need, or this one. Discussion could tell you that pretty easily, like these actually need another opinion. So, but usually it's just for the core team to coordinate. Sometimes we write a few notes here, but there's just
Yeah.
not that much room. So
Yeah, those are some good ones, right? Like yeah, any of those. I will say this. There is no way to avoid the feeling of drinking from a fire hose when you get started with a project of this size. And it's just going to take some time to learn and become knowledgeable in a certain area, or to understand how all the code and the code base fits together and where things are. So I just encourage you, find something to research. It doesn't have to be the right thing. And a lot of these words are going to feel like super obscure jargon to get started. But just reading through some of these issues, especially ones that are in discussion, have more like the core team, or there's more of a conversation thread on it, that's going to be informative, just to help you understand how some area of the Redwood code base works. So picking some of these to just read through and understand a bit, no pressure to comment on them. That will help you begin to get oriented. Right?
yeah, and it does feel like a lot of gibberish at first, yeah, but you just gotta like read a few a day, or just like you just try to read some stuff, and it'll come together soon, especially if you've developed on a Redwood app before. Like all the code that makes work is in there, and you'll understand how it fits together.
Yeah. Okay. Next tab, priorities.
Yeah, so these are things that a core team member is actively working on, possibly like with a contributor. Um, these are things like we expect to make progress on these like every day. Um, and it's just like this is the list of like how are we doing, more or less, or like are we moving these forward? That's kind of how we get the temperature on the project. And so these fluctuate. Sometimes something becomes a high priority, or something becomes a lower priority for whatever reason. There's a lot of data here. This is maybe the most like data driven tab per se. Like rollovers, we have like a notion of GitHub has just like an iteration field. Maybe this is too much info, but this will
No,
just like
this is
roll
important for
over.
people to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I said we're doing this weekly, right? And we're trying to make sure we don't lose things that are happening on a weekly basis. But so this is really helpful. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah. So this will just like put a time, like a box around a set of dates, right? Just so we have some sense of how did we do last 2 weeks versus this 2 weeks. So we've been through like this many cycles now, and issues are high priority issues are in a cycle, and the rollovers field will tell you how many cycles it's been a part of. And we want to get like the ones that have been in cycles. We want to prioritize those. Sometimes, some issues are just like harder than others. Like this TypeScript one is like a beast. It's touching like every file in the framework almost. So not all of these are created equal, this is just literally updating a package JSON. It's like one line. So that gives you a sense of like scope, I guess. The ones that spend a little more time on this view are bigger, and you can see that with the rollovers field. And this is all just like to help us, really. Like we want to know what we should prioritize, and having that data at hand just like helps us make decisions. That's really the main part here. And urgent is just like, this is a bug right now, like on a deployment provider or wherever it is, like we should really fix this like immediately. Like kind of drop what you're doing, get a review in. This is now your number one priority. So we try to, there's usually only one issue here at a time. And usually there's none, but things come up, and we just try to clear that as fast as we can.
Yeah, really helpful. Now, Dom, I want to show, because this might be a helpful view to people. So in the filters up at the top, could you take off the high and just to show all? Or will it, yeah, priority, there we go. And does it show high, medium? So this is an interesting place. And so one of the questions I want to ask for us is maybe there's another tab we have here for like helping get you started. Because as we're talking through this, I realized an area where people might be able to find something that's important, but it's not the top priority right now, is these medium and low priority items, right? Which a lot of those you can see are PRs, and those PRs might have gotten stuck. But there's a lot of open issues here that technically a core team member is assigned to, but a core team member is not working on right now because they're medium or low. So that makes so thoughts on that, and anyone who's listening in, yeah, did what I just say made sense? So these are all of our priorities, but they're not all prioritized equally. And so there are things in medium and low priority that are assigned to a core team member, but a core team member is not working on right now.
Yeah, that's a great point, David. Like these, I mean, as you can see, the rollovers field for these are a lot higher because oftentimes medium or low just means like, you know, when you have some time, like take a look at it, and
yes,
time tends to not be a thing we have. So these are a great place to get like engaged because they are, odds are like if we don't make some headway on some of these, they end up in the backlog, and they're like fresh. I guess they were freshly added to the backlog, and those are prime issues to pick up again. Like they're recent. They are something we want. So yeah, that's great to look into.
Yeah, those are good. So medium, like yeah, gosh, that CSS import order differs between dev and prod. That's been sitting out there forever. I know Simone wants to look into it, and it just takes research, right? That one's just takes some time to figure out what's happening because that's a Webpack deal, right? And also we need to verify it. I think I don't know the latest on that one. Scroll down a little bit there. Yeah, gosh, and there's a lot of PRs that have been open for a long time. You know, because it's not. Well, let me say this, it's welcome if you see a PR of interest that's stalled out for months, but you want to pick it up and run with it. Like that's super welcome, actually, incredibly helpful. So there's a lot that is welcome there too. So, okay. That's interesting, Dom. And then the next one I wanted to go to, just to show people, there was the backlog. Oh, we don't have a tab for backlog. Is that correct?
We do.
Oh, it's right
I
there.
put it all the way at the back. So
oh yeah, bugs and backlog. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Just to give some context, like why there's so many of these tabs in the middle. These are all core team members, and we do a stand-up every Monday, just saying like what we're going to work on. And we use these tabs during the meeting just to go like this through like DT talks, I talk, Toby talks. That's the reason they're there. But yeah, sorry, there's such a giant gap between this and that. I can definitely move this over.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we need to. Well, there were two more things. I'm just looking at the time right now. This is a good, I'm glad we got this recorded because this will be a good thing to show people through. But yeah, you already earlier at the beginning, you mentioned bugs, and this is a place, this is also one of those like, hey, what is something important right now that needs help from someone from the community, right? And these bugs are definitely that. Again, these aren't critical, but they are things that there's a lot of high bugs you could see that we would really like to get done. There's probably a workaround for a lot of them, or at least it's documented, but we could use help on these bugs. And then the main thing on backlog is I wanted you to go from backlog DOM to then show your labels there. So, and then also we hadn't gotten there yet was to get to the V3, like what is actually coming in V3? How could people see what's going to be coming down the pike for the next major? So Dom, maybe a thing for you and I to get to next is, could we create a help wanted tab that somehow allows kind of the filtering around priorities that are that need help, core team, like high priority, core team members not working on them right now. And that could be like maybe not high priority, but like priority. So medium and low priorities, and or they're in the backlog, and or they've got a help wanted label on them, right? So some mix of that, which could be a bug, right? So, but you see what I mean? Like some tab that encompasses those things, so someone could come in and just see that very quickly that meets those criteria.
Yeah, we can filter on labels here, so that should be doable. And then I could filter for something like no assignee as well.
Yeah, which I don't know. Yeah, that one's interesting because I don't know if we want to filter that out, because a lot of things the core team's working on have been assigned, but they got, you know, kicked over to the backlog, right?
Yeah.
Help wanted or good first issue. Can we do that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just a comma, I think. Oh, well, the autocomplete does not
Okay.
like that. I just have to type it.
Okay. Maybe help wanted. This does include bugs, correct?
Yeah, many of these are bugs. Like this, for instance, has a bug. I've confirmed this one recently. Often there are bugs in the backlog that are high in help wanted.
Okay. What if maybe then we filter out something that is high priority with an assignee? Can we get that specific?
Yes, you could do.
I haven't played.
minus
Dom is the
one.
master of the GitHub projects beta.
No assignee. So that would be everything that has no assignee, not high priority, but is a bug. And this is where I would not look at low here, but these could be fine. It's just like this, for instance, it's a feature. And this is actually like a good first issue. Like it's fairly small. So it depends. That when you get to medium and low priorities in the backlog, the issues become a little less organized.
Okay.
So
Got it.
high is usually what you want to look at, and you actually probably want to filter the other ones out.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Yeah. So what I was trying to do is filter out things that were on the, like when you went to the priority tab as it is right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to filter that out. Does that
Oh,
make
so
sense?
if it's in the backlog, it won't be in this tab. This is only so everything in this tab, if I go to the
Oh, it's in
board,
progress. That's right.
yeah, it's in one of these three, and then backlog, well, you won't see it here. So maybe it's a bit tough because like priority has like different meanings kind of. If it's in the cycle, a high priority means like this is getting done and worked on. If it's in the backlog, it means like it would be really great if this got done next when someone has time.
Right. Right.
Pick this one up next. Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay. So bugs backlog. But we're saying we would want to grab the tab idea filter I had was it could be a bug or a backlog or in progress, but just not in progress, high priority and assigned.
Yeah, if its status is not backlog, well, I guess, sorry, I see what you're saying now. So you want, got it. It's coming together. That might be a
Okay.
tough filter.
Yeah, that might be a tough filter. But yeah, you get it. The general idea that someone could come in. I think what we've done here in a lot of words is show people how the whole thing fits together. And for those who are still sticking around, I think the next question was, if how do we help them just go to a tab of like, okay, this is a tab I could start processing through. If I want to look for things that are important, they are on the priority list, they're just not being worked on right now, right? Whether they're a bug or in the backlog.
Yeah, maybe one thing I can do is right now, I'm going to drag this to the very front so that as soon as you come here, you'll see this, which is, we're going to call it like help wanted now. And this is an okay filter as is. So now when you come here, you'll see this and like, these are valid issues. Maybe I could probably make it a little bit better, but if any of these were worked on, it would be great. is this is definitely all valid material.
Yeah. Add bugs, maybe add bugs to your label. Oh wait, or did you already have?
Or most of these will have, if it's help wanted, odds are it has bug 2, but I could do all of those.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I think, okay, got it. Any, DT had a couple things he wanted to do here at the end of the conversation. DT wanted to talk about like RFCs and features, so let's get to that. But I think, yeah, anyone else, like, would this be a helpful tab to have kind of a summary of the things we talked about for getting started? We could try it, Dom, and do another cycle of this and see if we can get people going. And
Yeah,
also we could
good,
link to this in our documentation, right?
Yeah, we, I think, used to do that for V1, and it probably needs a bit of an update.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Let's let DT. Yeah, Dom, you and I can come back to that. Don't lose that. But DT, you had some things you want to talk about for discussions in Discord.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to say that a lot of what we were looking at were like issues. And I think a lot of people in Discord in the community are looking to help contribute in not necessarily fixing the framework, working on issues, which is huge, but also just trying to think about like, how can they enhance the framework? And I think there's a few important things to consider. Like, a lot of times in Discord, people will be saying, how can I do this, or this? Or I'm working in Windows and I'm seeing this, or I'm using a different IDE and this page isn't so helpful. So I think the very first thing to understand about contributing is, just like David said, contributing in docs and in issues in any way, it's open. So if you are experiencing something in Redwood that has, you would like to see it change or better, you have that opportunity to do it. And so, the framework isn't the static thing, it evolves. A lot of people also ask about, well, what are these big topics? And they are not necessarily captured in these project boards, like SSR or subscriptions or other things down the road. And I think we're looking for a way to showcase how those are. But those are such large topics that we haven't quite figured out how to get to contributing on them. That said, I am starting to make a list of other types of contributing ideas, and I think a lot of them can help. A lot of help can be done in guides and whatnot. So, for example, like right now, we don't have a great way of showing how you can use the user response cache with Redis on the cloud, or some storytelling around those things. So I was just saying that contributing, it can be looking at these issues and fixing these issues and commenting on PRs and whatnot, but there's also a whole different way of contributing that I'm going to try to introduce and get people to contribute on idea levels. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say, is that don't think of contributing as bug fixing or issue handling. One of the most helpful ways people are already contributing, and I've seen the people in the attendee list here today, is helping out in Discord and helping out on the forums. Just that way of contributing is huge, and starting there is a real big help. So thanks for everyone who's doing that.
Yeah, huge help. Huge help. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do that. Like the guides is a really good example, DT, of things that are really high value, and we haven't necessarily captured that in an issue. But we're, as DT said, we're working on some ways to kind of communicate projects, right? So something like, hey, we want to update our guides or add more guides, how to instructional tutorials. And here's a list of some ideas for those, but have those in one place. So people who want to participate in the project could go and get some ideas and find some ways to get involved. So thank you. Yeah, that's really good. Any other questions before we sign off here? We're at the hour. Thank you for joining us for this kind of open process, which I'm not sure if we did a lot of process, but we definitely walked through how things work, and that's the right place to get started. Any other questions? All right, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to stop the recording, and then Dom, you and I can figure out some next steps here. But thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your interest in contributing to the Redwood Project. That is not something we take for granted or take lightly. We'd love to help you take your next step to contribute to Redwood.